Hi, good morning, friends. I admit this is the first video I've recorded since getting braces, and for that and a lot of reasons, I'm feeling I'm having a lot of hang-ups about recording this video, so I'm trying to get myself to do it and to do it imperfectly, and I can always edit it and re-record it, but yeah, I am offering one of my free workshops or like reading circles this coming Thursday, October, what is that? 19th. And I wanted to get out ahead of that and share some information and kind of offer the first half of how I used to teach the workshop, which was a little bit of like an artist talk almost. And a grounding practice, offer that over video for you to do on your own time, or just to have it accessible for folks who may not want to be in the digital space with us on Thursday or may not be able to. So welcome. Please feel free to use this time to settle in and care for your body. That is always the first thing that I want to say. Take some time to arrive. Feel free to put this video on in the background while you're doing other stuff. Hopefully while you're doing stuff that's caring for yourself. I'm so glad you're here. I'm really grateful for the gift of your attention. And I don't know where you're coming from right now, but I'm coming from a pretty rocky mental health place still. I said that the last two workshops, and it continues to be true. I guess I'll share, I had a lot of hang-ups about sharing this one, both because of some stuff I'm going through in my personal life. My partner and I recently separated. We lived together. I'm experiencing a lot of grief and kind of some overwhelm and chaos from that. And just in the collective, I'm sure all of you or many of you, I'm absorbing and taking in so much grief and distress around what's happening to Palestinians and honestly so many global atrocities around the world. And I just want to hold a moment for everyone in deep suffering right now. It's a lot. And if you're watching this video, then you're hopefully safe, and at least physically. May that be the case for everyone. I had a little bit of a battle with myself of what's the point of me sharing my dumb little workshop, blah blah blah, in these times. And I have some battle like that basically whenever I go to teach this workshop. This is the third one. And it's something, every time I do it, it feels really fulfilling. It's something I would like to keep doing. It's free. It's a gift to whoever would find it useful. But I have hang-ups, and I realized what I can do in any given moment is limited. My capacity is limited, but something I can offer is a space to feel and a space to be held, and some concrete support and tools in being with and moving through feelings. I'm not a therapist, I don't really consider myself a healer, but I've created this tool for myself and I love sharing it, and I love co-regulating with folks and meaning making with folks, and I am so privileged to be in a space to offer that. And what a gift, right? Because if we can spend an hour settling down and tuning in and being together and with ourselves, with regards to this deck, I often talk about the nourishment of tears. And that doesn't even have to be literal tears. Just the nourishment of taking the time to really be with our feelings and be with our inner worlds. I think that there's something so restorative and hydrating and replenishing about that. I say my little tagline for my art is art for a softer world. And especially when I'm processing big collective grief, I'm like, yes, art for a softer world. If we can spend an hour softening and replenishing, and we're able to return to our lives with that groundedness and that resource, we can offer that out, and that affects everything we do next. It affects our activism, it affects our parenting, it affects our relationships and our connections with strangers and our way of moving through the world. So I certainly don't think I'm like, a superhuman or a saint or solving all the problems, but that was my little thought process today as I was reflecting on, wow, why does it feel hard for me to put this out there and to offer this gift? Hopefully that gives you a sense of why I'm continuing to nudge myself to do that. So, welcome. I love you. I do love you. Take some time to tune in. Take some time to breathe. If you need to get a glass of water or some food, or lie down while you're listening to this video, or get out a sketchbook and doodle, amazing. The part where I'm guiding you through a reading is going to happen live. That's what we're doing together on Thursday. So this is just the chatting part. Okay. Yeah, so speaking of arriving here, I'm looking at my notes. Something I always want to start with is interdependence and everything that brought us to the moment that we're in right now together. And it totally blows me away that making this art puts me in a relationship and this beautiful little network. You're watching this now, maybe you're watching this alone, but you're not actually alone. Someone else is also watching it. I'm here making it. Like, we are sharing a digital space, even if it's asynchronous in this case. I just think it's an incredible thing that each of us is connected to this whole web of strangers and friends across the world from this little set of words and images. That's so trippy to me. Mia Mingus was the first person I saw to start a talk with interdependence. I was fortunate enough to see her speak when I was in college. She is a beautiful disability justice activist and writer, and she really rooted herself so deeply in relationship before moving on to any other topic, and it was really striking to me. She probably spent like 10, 20 minutes even going through and starting there and naming all of the beings that allowed her to be where she was in that moment. We never get anywhere on our own. So I want to start with that. For me, from my family of origin and my chosen families to the juniper tree outside my window in my old apartment, my cat Juniper, the teachers and mentors that I've had over the years and continue to be so lucky to learn from, artists, activists, writers, scholars who have shaped my brain and my heart. I want to name and deeply acknowledge, hopefully not in just a flyby way, that I'm coming in from Treaty 6 land, which is known as Amisquachewaskagan, or Edmonton, Alberta. And the deck that we're here to learn from was made in my hometown, which is historically and continually stewarded by the Amamutsun tribal band, colonially known as Santa Cruz, California. And stretched across these two very different places and stretched across all of these different histories and this intricate network, all of that is wrapped in to what I've made and what we can do together. So interdependence in relationship has been my favorite thing about this long project that I've fallen into by accidentally making the coping calendar every year for 9 years. And that's where the Tearwater Oracle begins, actually. So, let's getting a little bit into the origin story of that. The coping calendar emerged because I was trying to make a different calendar. I was trying to make sort of a more educational calendar about like disability rights and like disability justice, and it was going to have like portraits of disabled artists and activists that I really admire and like quotes from them. And I still think that that's an awesome calendar and I would totally buy it, but I was not in the place to make that calendar at the time. I was struggling a lot with my mental health, and I kept putting off that calendar and putting it off and putting it off, and when I finally sat down to make it in like October, which is too late to make a calendar. I mean, it wasn't too late, it was right on time. What poured out was the first coping calendar, which was, I should just get it out actually right now. This is it. Oh man, it's like even a weird size because I didn't know about bleeds and crop marks and measuring. I still don't really know about measuring. This is what came out, and it was me writing to myself through my depression, really. And actually on that note, I'm going off script a little here, but on that note, I just think it's so beautiful that we can be in conversation with our subconscious. Because I knew what I needed to hear to support myself as I navigated all this. And yeah, we very often do. And sometimes that is easy. It's easier to access that wisdom when we're using tools, right? Like when we're in relationship, when we're in conversation, when we're looking at imagery or like a couple of simple words. So yeah, I actually often describe the deck as a tool to be in conversation with your subconscious. And when I'm doing a reading for someone else, I am like a facilitator between this conversation and you and the deck, or you and your subconscious, or you and your own wisdom, sort of. So yeah, I went on a little bit of a tangent there, but the coping calendar, my favorite thing about the coping calendar was always that over the years, many people, actually, I'm so honored, have written to me to tell me that an image landed for them at a certain moment in their life, or just they flipped the page and something clicked for them. A symbol resonated and got them to think about something in a different way, or was just so kind of magically coincidentally what they needed to hear. And I love that because we don't expect that from our calendars. We do expect that more from something like a tarot or an oracle deck, but which is what sort of started to lead me more in that direction. Like, ooh, I actually love the conversations that I get into about this. What if I made a tool that's more overtly for that? And then too, just being like, okay, like at that point I had done 7 years of, 12 images a year. That's a lot. That's a lot of images. And a couple of my loved ones were like, do those have to can those find a way to like keep iterating? Because I don't know that they're done. So yeah, that's where the deck came from. And I feel really honored by the conversations that it puts me into and the relationships that it puts me into. And it's my favorite thing. Oops, my computer's dying. Let's see. The first one, I might just upload this like totally raw and unedited, one take. But eventually I want to make a video that's like more concise and more edited and like has chapters. But I'm trying to resist my perfectionism, which is hard. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between tarot and oracle. This is a question that I'm often asked. By the way, so I started offering these workshops when somebody who had backed the Kickstarter and gotten pledged at the tier where they got a live reading from me, they told me like, oh, I actually haven't opened my deck yet. I got this because I really liked the art and I was excited about it. But I don't really know how to do this. And I was like, oh, that's so understandable. You are so not alone with that. I can help. Let me help. Let's do this together. And I was like, oh, I bet that they weren't the only one in that situation. And accessibility is a core value for me, and I really want this tool to be accessible. So yeah. Okay, so I guess I say that to say I'm offering this as if you don't know anything about tarot or oracle and you just got this deck because you thought it was pretty, which is a totally great reason to get a deck. Thank you. Okay, so the difference between tarot and oracle. This is a question I'm often asked at markets, and how I describe it is the tarot is a 78 card system. It's very old, and it comes with a specific structure. So there's a major arcana and a minor arcana, and even if you aren't really into this sort of thing, you probably have heard of certain tarot archetypes, right? Like the Hermit and like the Queen of Pentacles and like the Fool, Death, the Death card. Like they're in the popular culture. And it has a bunch of suits. So like swords, wands, cups, and pentacles. Different artists will riff on those and will riff on the archetypes too. But if somebody's made a tarot deck, they're really starting with that structure. An oracle deck can be used in the same ways. It can be used to do readings, to deepen a conversation, as a journaling practice. You can do spreads with it in the same way that you would for a tarot reading and like ask a question, which I totally do recommend. But it is not based on the tarot. Mine has a couple of cards that totally resonate with certain cards in the tarot, but like it's based on its own structure. In this case, it's based on previous year's images of the coping calendar. So the artist chooses what structure to work with, if any, and what themes they're going to explore. So that's the major difference, but they can really be used in similar or in the same ways. Okay, what readings can offer us? Like I've said a couple of times now, I love to think about this as a tool. You're gonna hear lots about doing your inner work these days, which I'm for. Very pro therapy, pro inner work, all the stuff, and it's hard to do. It's like sometimes it's like, where do you start? And I think it can be really supportive for some of us to have something concrete to hold on to as we're doing that, literally, physically, like doing something with your hands, but just I think like exploring imagery and letting randomness come into play, like it gets you to look at parts of yourself or situations in your life from angles that you may not have explored, and puts you into more of a direct conversation, like with different parts of yourself or someone else maybe. So some people do use tarot and oracle for divination, to like tell somebody's fortune or, maybe predict events. I don't actually have much to say about that. That's not how I tend to use them. I don't use them in a prescriptive way. I use them in a descriptive way. So I think of them as mirrors, showing us how we are, showing us parts of ourselves, showing us insight, possibly different pathways or different ways to think about things. But I don't tend to like use them in a prescriptive way like that. What else? That leads me to a question that I got at a market recently, which I loved. Do you need to believe in magic for this to work? This person was like, yeah, but like, what if it's just your mind? I'm like, honestly, I think that's still magical. But I love this question. It doesn't offend me. I don't think it matters what you believe, so long as you're approaching the deck with a genuine and loving desire to reflect, right? Like you can think about it in whatever way serves you and is loving to you. For me, I think it's loving, and it's kind of a gift to my kid self to stay open to the possibility of magic. I think it's more fun to live that way, and that's certainly something kid me would have wanted, and I think about her a lot with this deck and with my work. But I also don't think you have to, and I think even if the magic is like, sort of the sparks that happen in your own brain and heart, and then how that like unfolds in your life afterward, I think that's beautiful too. So yeah, if somebody were to be like, I don't believe in that stuff, I think that's fine, but I would also push back a little bit and be like, I'm not really sure what you have to believe in necessarily. Like, do you believe in journaling, or not believe in journaling? Do not believe in, some people don't. I don't know. It might not be a very useful tool for somebody who's not interested in self-reflection, but that's more important than whether you believe in magic, I think. So yeah, do whatever feels right to you. My deepest desire is that the deck is used in supportive and nurturing and loving ways. So if it's something that you're using to shame yourself or stress yourself out, please accept my loving pushback about that. Sometimes the cards show us unflattering sides of ourselves, but hopefully they should be doing so in the way a good friend would, with so much love, and desire for you to be well. So, yes. Okay. Getting to know your deck. We will talk about this. This is going to be the focus of the actual workshop, but I'll give you some ideas now as well. I think handling the cards, getting them out and laying them out. If you haven't, really explored the deck yet, take some time. It could be any time. You could be lying on your bed, lay them out on the floor. It could be, when you're taking a break from work at your desk. That's the other thing is I mentioned accessibility. Ritual is wonderful. I have a little candle burning right now. That helps me put my mind into a specific place. Ritual is wonderful. I use my altar cloth with the deck often, etc. Sometimes doing a little meditation or a grounding before can be so nourishing. I also don't want ritual to become a barrier of I can't do a reading until, I have the perfect altar, or until I'm perfectly, enlightened, or, I have the right crystal. I don't really work with crystals. I think they should be in the ground, but okay. I want using the deck to feel really accessible. So if your kitchen counter is the place where you're going to see the deck most and use it, great. Keep it there. That's a sacred place. That's a sacred place because it's a part of your everyday life. I love treating the deck with care. I try to, put it in its box and wrap it in a cloth or whatever if it's going to be in my backpack. But it is a usable object that is meant to be used. And I think it gains magic the more you use it. I do. Okay, so what was I starting to say? We are going to talk about using the deck and getting to know your deck. So I'm basically just saying, use it, get it out, look at it. My friend Miyuki was recently telling me that their recent way of doing readings is to go through, just flip through and consciously pick 6 cards without thinking about it too much that's really resonating for them, and then reflect afterward. You don't even have to do the whole shuffle and random thing. Just get to know the deck in whatever ways feel good to you. We're going to talk some more about some different ideas for little rituals or little ways to get to know it, but that's a good start. And then the other thing that we're going to do in the workshop is some guided journaling, which is a hugely helpful way, I think, for most people to get to know their deck. So, okay, this has been Ramble City. I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you for joining me. Wishing you safety and ease and warmth and joy and connection and so much love. I hope that you are able to join us on Thursday evening. There will also be another one in November. And have I done the December one yet? I think I've scheduled 3, so I think there's also a December one. Yeah, more info about that in the show notes. And yeah, thank you so much for the gift of your attention. Take good care.